it was just a regular day, and someone sent me a news clipping of him and was like, "Yo, remember your boy Darren?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was like, "Yo, you ain't gonna believe this." And I was like, "What?" And they sent me a news clipping of Darren that he had been arrested for kidnap and statutory rape of a young kid. Man, you- a wife? What? I was angry. I was shocked. I was hurt. I felt betrayed. Here I am, here in Youngstown for you. You never told me you had a wife. You never told me that you were married. I thought that we was gonna be together. I thought this was gonna be a long-term situation. This is about to be a story time because this is one of the craziest things that ever happened to me. It was just a regular day.
I know you see me on television, I know you see me on your YouTube, but you don't know me in real life, little homie, you better play it cool. Never let your left hand know what your right hand finna do, cause they gon' study your every move, try to imitate what you about to do. This here is the gang, we don't rock with you if I ain't feeling you. I've been on top since I started, dog, and I ain't finna move.
So she said, "Never mind, I'm gonna just go over his mother's house." And she said, "I'll call him." I watched her walk away. They looked like they made a good couple. Her swag matched his swag. She was beautiful. I was impressed. I was hurt. I was shocked. I paced around that living room, just heated. I picked up the phone and I tried to call Darren at work, but he wasn't available. He didn't answer. I called again. I still couldn't reach him. It was about a couple hours before I even got in contact with him. And maybe that was for the better because I had some time to actually calm down. But I still felt the pain like deep down in my chest. I really thought it was just me and him. When I talked to him, I asked him where he was at. He said he stopped over his mother's house. And I knew why. I said, "Oh, so you there with your wife, huh?" He was like, "It's not what you thinking." And I was like, "What you mean it's not what I'm thinking? Are you married?" He was like, "We're going to talk about it when I get home." And I was like, "But you there now with her." He said he will explain, and I just had to take it. It was nothing I could do. I couldn't leave. I had nowhere to go to, had nobody to talk to. I had already left home. My family was still looking for me. I waited till he got home and I asked him, "What's going on? Let's talk about this wife thing that you failed to mention." He told me that they were separated and that they're getting a divorce. I asked him when. He said that they working on it. And I was like, "But y'all still seem like y'all. He was like, "We still friends." And it was just something that I just really didn't have any control over it. I didn't have, you know, I didn't have a leg in the fight. It was something that I just had to just deal with or not. So I just chose to just believe him and just believe that they were not together. They were separated. Well, I knew they were separated because I had been there for months and months and I never seen her, but that they were going to get a divorce. In my mind, I wanted to be with him forever. I didn't realize the damage that he was causing and the things that he was doing to me. I didn't realize it because in my world where I came from, I had always been being hurt. This wasn't nothing foreign to me. I had been in jail for almost a year and a half at 14. You know, I've been on the streets running away for weeks after weeks and just my life wasn't normal. I felt like I was very mature. I really didn't realize what was really happening in that situation. You know, his wife was there for the weekend, so the whole family was so excited to see her and be around her. I mean, the way they treated her, they were so happy to see her. And everybody was just flocking to her. "Oh, this is Darren's wife, and this is my sister-in-law." And it was just, that was the first time I really felt very lonely and outside of being there because I had to sit back and watch everybody treating her the way maybe I felt like I should have been treated, but my whole situation was a secret. Only person who knew about us was Erwin and Rye. And I asked Erwin, I was like, wow, it's like, y'all treat her like she really married to him and they still together. And he was just like, well, we love her and that's like our sister and we just happy to see her. And I was just like, yeah, but it was just like, they treated her like she was Beyonce or something. I was just like, and while she was around, I really didn't get any attention from Darren. He was just pretty much, entertaining her. The family was entertaining her, and I just sat back and I just watched everybody move. Man, the things I've been through, I'm telling you, if they say pain makes you stronger, I should be Hercules. You feel me? We got past that hurdle. She went back home and things, got back to normal, but normal was never normal. Normal was him coming home with headaches and stressed out from work and stressed out from the church and all these different situations. Now, it just was situation after situation. My mother had got wind that I was in Youngstown And she found me, you know, and they found his number somehow and called, and he gave me the phone and was like, your mother is on the phone. And I was like, what? How'd she get this number? Like, I don't know if I called one of my cousins or somebody in my family, and I don't know if they had caller ID, and somehow she got the number. And I get on the phone and I'm like, hello? And she like, where you at? And I'm like, what do you mean where I'm at? You know, you calling, so I figure you know where I'm at, I'm in Youngstown, And she like, well, you need to come home or I'm coming to get you. And I was like, nah, I'm not coming home. You know what I'm saying? Like, she telling me that I'm still a minor and whoever you with, I'm coming up there with your cousins and we gonna fuck him up. And I was like, nah, y'all ain't gonna do nothing. That's when I started getting very protective because I know my family and they would have tried to do it if they knew exactly where I was at. My big cousin was on the phone with her and he was trying to be, Bango Billy and the cousin in the family that's known for fighting and doing all this stuff. He get on the phone and telling me, he gonna beat up Darren and I better come home and I'm with a grown man and this and that. And I'm just like, I'm not going nowhere. And with him, I could talk brolic. I was kind of respecting my mama, but it's kind of like with you, nigga, you gonna do what? He was like, I'm gonna handle him and do this. And I was like, you ain't gonna do shit. And he was like, oh, what you mean you got something? I was like, come up here and see. I was like, if you think you're gonna come up here and touch anybody that I'm with, you got another thing coming. He said, what you gonna do? I was like, I'm gonna pop your ass. And he was so shocked when I said that I was gonna shoot him. He was like, you gonna shoot me? And I was like, yeah, come up here and think you gonna touch something that I love and I'm gonna shoot you. Flat out, just like that. And he was like, wow. He was shocked that he got off the phone. He was like, you know what? Y'all can have this. I can't believe, like, I'm his family. He talking about he gonna shoot me. I'm cool. I'm done with him. We didn't speak for a long time after that. He felt very disrespected and felt like you would shoot your cousin. And I felt like you're not going to come up here and take me from nowhere, If you think you're going to do something like that and hurt the person that I'm in love with, you got another thing coming. But I was very reckless back then, and he knew that I meant what I said. It was just crazy. I told him I wasn't coming home, don't call me no more. And that's that. So it was really nothing they could do. They had a number. They didn't, they didn't do nothing with it. Things just continued to get crazy, and it was just like I said, I was just there. It was the same thing every day. Sometimes we would go to Cleveland and hang out. I wasn't really old enough to go to no clubs or nothing. We went to a couple spots that I could get in without getting carded. But, even as I look back at pictures when I was that age, I looked so young. No facial hair, just barely a mustache. It's just like, I don't know why I thought I was so grown or... It's crazy looking back, but I continue to go to church, sing in the choir and be a part of that whole thing because that's what he did. But that was just getting crazier and crazier. The women at the church constantly throwing themselves on him, and every day after church I would have to just stand there and watch as all the women came flocking to him, and he would have to do things for them, drop some of them off at work, go pick them up for church, take them home after church, it was just like nonstop. The women would call and call at any hour of the day. You know, he would be at work all day, come home with a headache and stressed out. Then he would have to get on the phone for an hour talking to, Sister Jenkins from the church because her man left her and she got 3 kids and she's stressed out and depressed. And it's just, he would complain about it so much. And that's the reason why I had such a problem with it, because it was like I was kind of so protective of him. I didn't want him to always have headaches and be stressed out, and it was just so much on him. I started to become, I just didn't like the church ladies calling him at any time, and I said, you have to have some boundaries. I understand that you know, a minister at this church, and he told me that it was his job to be there for the congregation whenever they called, no matter what it was, but I just felt like people took advantage of it. They didn't respect his boundaries, and I didn't feel like everything was genuine. I felt like a lot of them women were just trying to get close to him, and he had a lot of power. It seemed like, because he was a minister, he was very accomplished and, graduated from college and had a great job and a home and a son. He was like the most eligible bachelor, and I think every woman wanted to be the first lady or wanted to get with him. I don't know if they knew about his marriage like I did, but, from the looks of it, he was single and they wanted it. Ladies in the church wearing short skirts and sitting in the front row, staring at him the whole time and watching him as he sang in the choir and led songs and stuff. And I used to just be looking at him like, and then after church, standing around having to talk to all of them, and I'm ready to go. A lot of times I would just go get in the car and just wait. And I knew that if I would leave, he would eventually be like, let me go out there because I know he waiting. So that was my thing. Right after church, I would walk towards the door to go. Like, we're not about to hang around here and do all this. Church was cool until one Sunday he was preaching, and, he stayed up all night preparing his, sermon and things like that. I never asked him what he was going to preach about. It was always a surprise to me on Sunday, just like it was for everybody else. This Sunday, I sat in the congregation, and he was up there in the pulpit. And a lot of times I felt proud to be there. I knew our relationship, and I felt proud, but today it was just a lot different. He got up there to preach, and the sermon just was about homosexuality in the Bible, and the way my blood was boiling, looking at him in the pulpit, and preaching the word of God. I wanted to get up and walk out that church. I felt like it was a contradiction. I felt like, who is this man right here? Speaking of homosexuality being a sin, but it's the life that you live. You should understand more than anybody. But here, you are preaching and trying to deflect attention away from your situation and what people might think is going on with you, because questions had started going around. The pastor's daughter asked me if I was in a relationship with him. She said, "Oh, I don't care if y'all are. And I was like, nah, what you talking about?" So I had started lying to cover up things. Not once did he look at me. He knew I wouldn't approve of it. I'm not a person that's fake. I'm not a person that's going to say things just to please other people. I'm going to keep it 100. The fact that he could stand in that pulpit and do that, I wanted to get up and walk out that church so bad, but I knew people would look at me and wonder why I was leaving. I just couldn't understand it. It made me not trust him. It made me just look at him in a total different light. You know, it was one thing that I did admire about him, and it was just that he was a spiritual man, a minister, you know. But seeing that happen in front of my eyes, I knew the people would do anything just to make themselves look better. If anybody should understand, it should be you. And you could have preached about anything, but you chose to do this for whatever reasons. I was so angry after the sermon. He knew it. He could feel it. It was so awkward in the car, and we had to drop other people off, and then we had his son in the car. I couldn't wait to talk to him alone. And of course I did. I'm not a fake person. I have to let it out. And I said, yo, that sermon that you preached was crazy. What was that about? I'm confused right now, because the things that you preaching about, we do every day. So does your friends and your brother. And I'm confused. He was like, it's not about what he's doing. It's more about what the Bible says. So I'm like, so you agree? Well, what's in the Bible? Or like, he said, that's the word. And I'm just like, nah, I just couldn't agree with it. Like, no. How can you preach one thing and do another thing? You know, practice what you preach. Or don't preach it, because you know differently. Like, I couldn't get it, and I never will. And that was just something that I just had to get past, because it was just like something that would totally tear us apart. And it really did. I never looked at him the same after that. As far as that, I didn't want to go to church, you know, because I just didn't believe, you know, what they was preaching. I did it because it was a rule for the people in the house. So it was just like, just go and just sit there and go through it. You know, never really had a real deep spiritual connection in it. It was just something to do on Sunday. We got past that, but things just continued to go crazy. Every day, people was taking advantage of him. People from the church calling, him having headaches, me just being there with Rye, still got an attitude and, you know, making things hard. He's still sleeping with him whenever we get mad. The hugs and the kissing and all of that still was going on. His brother, Erwin, lived with us, and he would always use his car and do things like that. And on this day, things went crazy because Darren had a headache as usual. He suffered from chronic headaches, which I think a lot was from stress. And I was in there talking to him, and he was telling me how he's tired and, you know, people taking advantage of him, and Erwin took the car and didn't fill it up, and, you know, things like that. And I'm just like, well, why don't you talk to him about it? Like, you have to talk to him about it and tell him that he can't do that no more. He said he just too tired. He don't feel like dealing with it. And I was like, but you complaining to me every night about how you don't like this and how you don't like that, but you let them do whatever to you. And, you know, he had a way of talking down on me and making me feel like it was me. I don't know what it was, but he had a way of talking down. And he would tell me, well, if you got a problem with it, why don't you say something about it? And I was like, well, it's not my car, and that's not my brother. That's your brother, and you complaining to me every day, and I'm seeing how you upset every day. Of course, it's going to affect me because I love you. And he was like, well, you could say something about it. You don't have to be his brother to say something about it. If you see something that's wrong, speak up. And I was like, okay. I mean, if you saying I could say something, I'll talk to him. And he was like, yeah, you could talk to him because I just don't feel like doing it. And I was like, okay. So, I decided that I would talk to him. And I went in there and, I said, yo, man, let me talk to you for a minute. And he was like, what's up? And I was like, Darren, you're using the car a lot and not filling up the gas tank and things like that. And, Darren has a problem with it. If you're going to use the car, he don't mind you using the car. But if you're going to use the car, can you fill up the gas tank and bring it back the way, you took it? Sometimes he's going to work and he be thinking that he got gas, and then he get in there and get on the road and it's empty. And he's like, you don't come talking to me about you. And I'm like, I'm just having he was like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with you. You ain't who is you? And I was just like, well, I'm his man. You know what I'm saying? And he complains to me about it, and he asked me to talk to you about it. No, you don't talk to me about nothing. You ain't my brother, and this, and I don't care who you is. And I was just like, yo. So things escalated, and we got into a fist fight. I mean, literally a physical fight. And I kind of like threw him all over the room, man. We was just going at it. And Darren had to come break up the fight. And I mean, when I tell you Erwin was pissed, he was screaming and talking about something. I can't, you better get your friend and this and that. And he was like, I'm out of here. I'm moving. I can't live here with him. And, he called the brothers and all of these people and told them, yeah, Darren's little friend or whatever he is going to come in here and swing on me and telling me what I can't be doing and don't be using his car. And, in that moment, it was just like bad. Darren was looking at me like, I can't believe you stole on him. And it was kind of like he was acting like he didn't have nothing to do with it, or he never told me to have a talk with him and things like that. And I just felt like alone, like, damn, like, he packed up and he moved out. It took him about a week to get all his things, but the house was just so different then. He didn't talk to Darren, didn't talk to me. He left. He would just come back to get his stuff and was moving things out and cleared out his whole room. And it was just like, so now it was issues with him in the church, and he didn't, I think the way he delivered the message to everybody in the family, they pretty much knew that something was going on with me and Darren, if they didn't know already, which I'm pretty sure they did. Some people just choose to ignore things. It was just bad, Darren didn't have my back. He made me feel like, yo, what you do? And I was just like, you told me to go talk to him. And he was like, yeah, but I didn't tell you to hit him or to, fight him. He was like, you got to learn how to talk to people without fighting. He was like, I'm not with that. And I was just like, well, you should have talked to him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you put the battery in my back to go say something to him, and I'm trying to defend you and take up for you, and then, things go crazy, and you don't even have my back. And I just felt like, damn, man. So I don't know if, I know he told the other brothers, I don't know if they want to fight me. And, I think the respect of Darren, they didn't come over there trying to do nothing. But I kind of felt like if I had seen them, it would be something. It just messed up a lot of things. He didn't want to come around. And they were like close because they were the two gay ones. And he didn't want to come around no more. And he didn't want to be around me. And it was just like, dang, stuff just constantly just kept getting worse and worse, still talking to the people at church. And I got upset about that. I felt like, they wanted him, and it was more than just, needing help and things like that. You know, one day he tells me that he's about to go over one of the church ladies' house because she needs some help. And I'm like, help with what? And he was like, she needs some help putting up her blinds. And I was like, she can't put up some blinds? She a grown woman. And he was like, well, they too tall or too high and she can't reach it. They don't have a ladder and she got kids and her man and all this whole story. And I was just like, okay. And he was like, well, if you got a problem with it, you can come with me. And I was like, okay, well, I will. You know, I went over there with him. And when I tell you, I got there and the lady, she had on Victoria's Secret lingerie and it wasn't no secret at all because you could see everything. Everything. And it was just like, I think she thought he was coming along. I think she was trying to, this your pastor coming to the house and you got on lingerie. So that's the type of thing that I knew what was going on, and I knew that they were taking advantage of him, you know, and that they liked him, and it wasn't just about being there for him. They wanted to be on the phone talking to him, and they liked him picking him up for church, and, you know, all of this stuff, riding and being next to him. Sometimes we went to dinner with him. It was just a lot, and it was just too much for me, you know, especially with him complaining about it. His energy would always rub off on mine. You know, he wasn't never happy, so I wasn't happy. It was just a lot for somebody to be going through at my age. And, you know, we just started to fight a lot. And this day will be our last fight because we got into it. And like I tell you, Darren, he had a way of manipulating me and talking down on me and making me feel like I'm nothing. Because he was educated and he was smart and went to college, and he would always throw that up in my face. So I have 2 degrees, or, you know, or because I'm this or I'm that, and, you know, and I just felt so little. He would just, you would feel this big, and when y'all talking, you would just be shrinking. He would use big words and just this condescending tone that would just make you feel like so angry, and it was always your fault or something you did because he was perfect. He didn't do anything wrong. And this day we got into an argument, and I got upset, and I picked up a chair and threw it across the room. The chair broke. And he looked at me and he was like, now you gotta go. He was like, pack up your things and I'm going to take you back to Cleveland tonight. And I was like in shock. I was like, but of course I didn't beg and say, I was like, okay, you know, cool. So I went upstairs and I started throwing my stuff in a plastic bag, a black plastic trash bag. And he did, you know, we didn't say much, if anything. The whole way I just was riding in the car and I wanted to say, I'm sorry, turn back around. And I felt like he wanted me to say, I'm sorry. But my pride wouldn't let me. I just sat in the car the whole way. We didn't say anything, but in my head, it was all I was thinking about. The closer we got to Cleveland, the more my heart sank in my chest. And when we got to my cousin's house, I started crying. And I said, I can't believe you brought me all the way here. You done with me? He was like, you know, I love you, but I can't deal with any violence and things like that. That's my deal breaker. You picked up a chair and threw it. And I'm just not gonna have that. And I'm like, yo, but it was a chair, man. I didn't hit you. It was like, yo, man, like, I can't believe you just gonna leave me like this. I was hurt, man. And he was like, no, I'm not saying that it's forever, but for right now, you gotta go. So, you know, got my bag out the car and went upstairs to my cousin's house, and I cried to her all night. I mean, that was my first real heartbreak, and she knows that she was there with me through the whole thing. I cried and I cried and I cried, man. I never had experienced anything like that. That's all I talked about. I wanted to get back with him, but it just seemed like the more time passed, it just wasn't gonna happen. You know, eventually as the days went by, I got stronger and stronger, and I got myself back. And I was good, you know. I think I seen him a couple years later, and he was like, hey, what's up? You know, and I was just like, and he wanted to be with me and wanted to talk to me again, but I was just kind of like, nah, you know. But in hindsight, and I know I've read a lot of y'all comments, and some of y'all were dead on, some of y'all missed a lot of the points that I was trying to make in these videos. But well, first let me tell y'all this. Maybe 10 years later, it was just a regular day, and someone sent me a news clipping of him and was like, yo, remember your boy Darren? And I was like, yeah. And it was like, yo, you ain't gonna believe this. And I was like, what? And they sent me a news clipping of Darren, that he had been arrested for kidnap and statutory rape of a young kid. I think he had found another job, and multiple charges. I mean, and when I looked at the picture, his mugshot, he literally looked crazy to me. Hair was standing up. He just didn't even look like the same person that I had fell in love with. Statutory rape of a 16-year-old, and there was multiple charges. I think it was a couple people. He was working in a school or a college or something, and he was taking advantage of young boys. And that was the first time I really put everything into perspective. That I was absolutely a victim. I was a child, and yes, I did feel like I was in love, but I was being taken advantage of by a man that was twice my age, that was a pedophile, that manipulated me and took advantage of me. And I'm thinking that, you know, maybe it's just something special about me. I'm mature and things like this. No, I was a kid, and no grown man is going to do what he did. You know, I don't care how mature the person seems or how old they are. If they underage 18, that's off limits. You know, this person definitely had a sickness, and I don't know if I was the first person or if I was second, third, I don't know. But I really felt for those other kids that happened to. It's heartbreaking. It's crazy, guys. You know, if you're underage and you're involved with a man that's a grown man, you're taking advantage of you. No grown man should want to be with a child. I don't care how mature you seem, or for them, that they should know the boundaries. Don't do it. You're gonna end up hurting yourself, potentially hurting other people around you. That's something that should have never happened. Why it happened to me, I don't understand. I don't live in regrets, because I do believe that I've been through certain things that some people don't make it out of, because I'm here to teach. I'm here to share my experiences with you, so that maybe you wouldn't have to go through it the way I did. It was a crazy situation, to say the least. I just feel for anybody that have been taken advantage of. And just know your own power, know your own strength. You know, don't let nobody take advantage of you. If somebody does, shut that down. You in control of you. It's not right. You know, we didn't have nothing in common. We were too far apart in age. There was no way that I would ever be with him. You know? I don't hate Darren. You know? I know that it's a sickness. I feel for him. And I hope for the best in his life. But yeah, that was that. You know, I'm open to comments now, and you know, let's talk about it. Discuss it in the comments. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you're already part of the family, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And I really want this video to be seen by as many people as possible, because I do feel like I'm here to teach, and I feel like if we can get this video out here, it can help somebody that may be going through a similar situation. It can help a young man that's probably in a relationship with an older man that's being taken advantage of. You know, you may think that you're doing the right thing or you're in love, but that older person should know better. There's no way that an older man should be engaging in a relationship with a young man, a young boy. That's a pedophile, and that's a problem. You know, it's manipulation, and it's just so much in that, and you don't want to go through that type of pain. So please thumbs up this video, share it with somebody, because somebody needs to hear this. You know, I don't care if we go through 1,000 people and 1,001 is the person that needs to hear it. And that's what we doing it for. Holla at your favorite cousin, man. And I'm out.